Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington, where you will hear from the movers, shakers, and changemakers that are moving Greater Burlington forward. Here is your host, Steven Brody.
Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington. Southeastern Community College is a public institution of higher education which encompasses all of Des Moines, Henry, and Lee counties and part of Louisa County in southeast Iowa, which has a total population of approximately 100,000. SCC's service area is bordered by the Mississippi River and Illinois on the east and Missouri on the south, and is governed by a 5-member board of trustees elected from and by the citizens of 5 separate director districts. SCC is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission and is a member of the North Central Association of Colleges and Schools. In 100 years, about 100,000 students have walked through the doors of SCC with determination to make their dreams a reality. For 100 years, the college has continuously reinvented itself as part of its commitment to serve the region. And it is a privilege to have with us today Dr. Michael Ash, President of SCC. Dr. Ash, thank you again. We know how busy you can be, and thank you for making the time to be with us.
Thank you, Steve, for the opportunity to share about SCC. I can talk for hours, and I know we don't have that kind of time frame, but lots of great stuff happening. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. Why don't we get started with what brought you to SCC? You've been there for some time, but if you can think back, what was it that attracted you to the campus and wanting to come and lend your talent and expertise here?
Well, I've been in higher education for many, many years, and somewhere in that time frame, aspired to be a president. And I've done all the other tasks of director, regular worker, director, vice president over a number of different areas, raised money for the past institution I was with. And I thought, okay, I think I'm ready. So I began the search for the opportunity to serve as the president. And there were a number, and some of those didn't get a return invite, and some I did have opportunity to interview, and some of those didn't turn out so well. At least they didn't offer the job. But I came here, and the story goes sort of like this, that I had applied and didn't hear anything. And I thought, well, that's pretty much status quo here as far as what I've experienced before. And then my wife and I were headed out of town for someplace, and my phone rang, and it was the consultant who said, "Hey, are you still interested in this position?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And so he said that the college was still moving forward with a presidential change, and if I was still interested, then they would keep me in the queue. Sure, great, yeah, that'd be wonderful. And then I didn't hear anything again for quite a while.
Oh, wow.
And then I did hear again, and it was a kind of a similar situation where he was calling to see if I was available for an interview, and it would be through FaceTime. Zoom wasn't then as it is now, but FaceTime, I believe, was the system. But in any event, I said, absolutely. So we set up a time and a date and a time for that initial interview. And all I could see was the consultant. He was the one asking all the questions. So I had no idea who was, and even if there was a committee, I'm sure there was, but I couldn't see anybody. And nobody else asked questions. So we got to about an hour and a half into the interview, and he just stopped and said, "Thank you very much, Dr. Ash. I think we've come to the end of our time." And usually they give you a chance to ask questions or wrap up or make a final statement, but no, that wasn't. I thought, well, that's kind of, so I had this vision in my head that somebody was behind the other side of the camera going, slicing the neck, or like, cut them off, done, get rid of them. Yeah. And so I thought, well, I guess that didn't go so well. Yeah. I felt good about it, but didn't know that if it went very well. So I didn't hear anything for a while. And then I got a call again, and now I was being invited to campus for an in-person interview. And it was end of July 2012,
Okay.
and the state fair or the county fair was going on, and I was currently at State Fair Community College, where the state fair is right next door to the college, thus the name.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my goodness, deja vu all over again. And here I am now, looking to be a president of a college that has the fair right on the ground, sharing the grounds.
Right.
So he gave me 2 or 3 options as far as date and time, and I said, well, in my own mind, I was saying I want to be the last one.
Oh, sure.
So July 31 was my day, and I was the last one, and it was probably, at least as I could tell, and maybe it was because I was going through the interview process, it was the hottest day of the year there, here, and it was like, wow, this is really hot. And I had to be suited up all day and had to be on all day and, be Mr. Nice Guy and all that kind of good stuff. And again, when I got, I met with all kinds of different people throughout the day. And then we went down to Keokuk and I met the staff there as well as the community members and did a forum there and came back. And then it was time to meet with the board, 5-member board and the consultant. And he asked all the questions. And so I'm trying to make eye contact with each of the board members and at the same time listen to the question. And sometimes there were multiple questions in the question.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to drag on and on and on in answering, but I also didn't want to miss anything. So about an hour and a half in, he stopped again and said, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We're going to let you go and they'll take you back to your hotel room. Okay, then. Okay. So I guess that didn't go so well. In fact, I called my wife.
This is going on for quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. And so I called my wife and said, well, I don't think that's going to work here. And I explained to her what she was. She just said, well, come on home and we'll figure out what our next steps are. And so I had already planned to be there overnight. I didn't know how long I was going to be in Burlington. But anyway, so I fell asleep. Then when I woke up, then I went and got something to eat and came back. I was watching a ball game and my phone rang, and it was the consultant.
Okay.
So he did a lot of this chit-chatty, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? What's up? What's going on? I like, can you cut to the chase?
Right, right.
So, yeah, it was really quite And so finally he said, well, here's the deal. He said, the faculty really like you. The students really like you. The community members really like you. And the board likes you. So the board would like to extend to you an invitation to be their next president.
Okay.
So we chatted about that for a little bit. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, let me think about it. Okay. So I knew that there had been some challenges at the college before I came. And so that wasn't news to me, but I didn't really probably understand fully and completely all that was involved. But that's how I ended up coming to SCC, and that was 11 plus years ago. Yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting point because I wonder, like, when you come into a position, how much are you fully informed as to like what you're walking into? They can tell you so much, and then you get there and you're sort of, oh, okay. Yeah. What was there anything in particular that did surprise you that you didn't know about coming in?
Well, I had a lot of oops, we forgot to tell you that type of experiences. And I think probably because I had done my own research about the institution, about the area, I was pretty well up to speed on most everything. I guess I just didn't really fully grasp the depth of the frustration, the anger, or the pain, or whatever people were going through, and so that was relative news to me. I thought, well, I'll get here and we'll get the ball rolling, and they'll really like who I am, and we'll really make some good stuff happen. Well, not so fast. There were a lot of people who felt that I was not really tuned into what they had gone through, what they had experienced, and what their frustrations were. And actually, in those first 6 months or so, I probably quit about 6 times. I thought, well, it didn't seem like, at least the leadership, really wanted to change,
I see.
really wanted to heal, move on.
Yeah.
Every time I tried to go down that pathway, it was, well, you just don't understand what we've been through. And that's probably true because I wasn't here then. And but
maybe that worked to your advantage by not being from the area and being from out of town, so you'd have a fresh eyes and not necessarily be gilded by what was going on here.
Well, that's very true, very true. Although, when you're right in the thick of it and you're trying to make some good things happen and you're receiving resistance, pushback, arms folded, not gonna participate in that kind of thing, it really makes for a long day and a long month.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that really helped me was I ran, and this is after I've probably, and I didn't officially quit, but I felt like these people don't want to change. I can't drag them. It's like taking a horse to water. If they don't want to drink, you're not going to make them drink.
Right.
So I thought, well, there's nothing I can do here, so maybe I should just move on. Certainly before I moved my wife from where we were at to where I'm at. But I found this slogan, and it's really stuck with me. It really was, if you will, my proverbial rope with a knot tied in the end. And it goes like this. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. And it's like, okay, I've not seen the worth part yet, but I can tell you it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it's been a journey. Those first few years have been a real challenge.
Yeah.
But I just like I said Friday night at that event, is it worth it? Just look around and see. Just look around at the college and look around at the two campuses and the two sites and the CBIZ and all of the things that are going on. There's hard to find anything that, we're not perfect, so I don't want to make it sound like everything is hunky-dory.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find areas where there's major problems or challenges. So
there's been such a transformation of the campus in the time that you've been here. How much of that is you? How much of that is the administration? Like some of the projects that have happened, were those your ideas that you have then brought across the finish line, or were those ideas that were already around and had already been talked about?
Well, I think, as I understand it, a few presidents before me had some ideas of improvements. Where I ended up guiding us was not necessarily on those particular items, but I could see that things were kind of disorganized. We had our health professions scattered all over campus, our sciences scattered all over campus, and it was really inefficient. And we even had one of our nursing programs was in the health center, health clinic, and somewhat removed from where the main classrooms were. And I thought, this is crazy. I don't understand this. So I didn't make things happen, but I certainly brought conversation to the table. And it really was administration. We sought input from faculty and staff. Our donors were certainly consulted. Our foundation board was consulted. So it wasn't me off in my corner coming up with my own little plan. But it was, I feel like maybe the way I would suggest it would be something like, I came, I saw the potential, I took the top off the can, and it just exploded all over the place. And we've had such good and very, very capable people who've helped, who've led, who've guided, who've were involved. When we started looking at a health professions building, we had all of the people who would be living in that, quote unquote, working in that facility, all faculty and staff. We had them at the table to tell us what you needed, what you wanted. So it wasn't the president deciding, we can do this, we can't do that. Now, I did have to have a conversation with our science faculty as we got ready for this next building, which is going to be Hall of Sciences. They were a little hesitant because they had felt like people hadn't been true and honest with them before. And so they just thought this is a big, big ask that we're going to build a Hall of Sciences building. But they came around,
Mm-hmm.
and in the summer of 2018, they were moving into the new facilities, and they were just thrilled.
Yeah.
And they still are, with the size of their classrooms, their labs, their prep areas, their offices, all in one building.
Yeah.
And if you go there now and see, you're going to see chemistry classroom full with students, whereas before they had a trickle of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And so we've really seen some really positive things happen.
When that happened and you went from concept to reality, were you looking at other colleges to see if they had a similar setup and use that as a reference point to what you wanted to have here at SEC?
Well, through our architect, the architect would bring us what they had experienced, or they might have done some of their research and said, well, here are some ideas here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just our own top of mind thinking that says, oh, let's just do this.
Yeah.
We definitely had professional guidance. And it was good to have that kind of guidance, because I've not built buildings like this before. So, and of course, lots of different ideas, lots of, well, we should do this, we should do that, we need this, we need that. And they're not altogether easy to do.
Yeah.
And so giving opportunity for input, but then you have to kind of sort that all out and say, all right, now here's what we can do. And then, of course, you still have to deal with a budget. So
Right.
there's that enters into the picture. So, but we really left a lot of opportunity for people, faculty, staff, students, alumni, foundation members, donors. In fact, I wanted to build the first building I wanted to build was the new rec center. And my donors said, no, I think you need to build some academic buildings. So
Yeah.
that's where we started, and we built 3 of those.
Yeah.
So we're really pleased with the way things did come together. And of course, we're not quite done yet, but we'll see how the next steps take.
No, the rec center is gorgeous, and that's a real source of pride, I'm sure.
It is. And, it's interesting, Steve, is that when I came, I didn't know anybody here. So I started talking about I felt like we needed to have some type of recreational facility for students.
Yeah.
There's no place for them to play.
Right.
Our residence halls, we didn't have as many beds, and the gym was being shared by 4 or 5 sports.
Okay.
So they just didn't let any students in there unless you're athletics. And I thought that was definitely a bad drawback for the college. So I wanted to build that, but the donor said, no, I think you need to stay focused on academics. So we built those 3, 16, 17, and 18, we built buildings. And then we still, with the monies that had been given in our Building the Dream campaign, we still had a good chunk of change that could go towards building that building number 4, which is the rec center.
Yeah. You've also been very successful in recent years of entering into these partnership agreements with other schools for various different degrees that take place. Can you talk about that? How does that originate? How does something like that come to pass? Because again, it seems like there's been a lot in the last few years that you have been able to sign and partner with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll use a phrase here that is pretty obvious. Success breeds success.
Yeah.
And it draws attention. And we had actually started down the pathway with our Wesleyan on a major partnership. And unfortunately, their finances were such that they ended up having to fold and close their doors.
Right.
But short of that, we had partnership. We had developed partnerships with a company over the solar panels. We have solar panels on campus at both campuses. We have facilities that are solar panel carports in the parking lots, and I'd love to put some more of those in. And we didn't pay a penny for any of that.
Wow.
That was paid for by the contractor in our agreement, and we still get a discount on our electricity.
Nice.
So, I mean, that was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And then in about, it's probably about 12 more years now, we'll own all of those panels. We'll have responsibility for upkeep and maintenance, but we'll be able to save all those dollars on electricity.
Yeah.
So that is a big deal. And then when we started on a pathway with Wesleyan, we thought, okay, this is our academic. Now we have all kinds of transfer agreements with all kinds of schools, both public and private.
Yeah.
But Wesleyan was going to be something big time for the whole region because we were going to have a stronger 4-year presence with Wesleyan in the area. But that unfortunately didn't work out.
Yeah.
So finding other things. Now, if I have to turn back the clock, about 10 years ago is when I started on the University of Iowa engineering program. And they had a number of changes of leadership there. I went through 3 presidents, 2 provosts, and 3 deans to get finally to the place where we are now to sign the agreement.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, well, yeah, this makes sense. We should be doing this. Yeah, I've been trying. I've been working on this for 10 years, but so happy. In fact, I was just there with the president over the weekend, and I sent her a thank you note today for her help and support. And she already responded with, "This is great. It's really good to see you. Glad we were able to catch up. And yes, there's much more we can do."
Yeah.
So if we fumble the ball, then people are like, well, you couldn't handle the last one. I'm not sure we can do this one. But because this one was handled and now we can really market it. And the idea there with the engineering is that our students can take courses that they would need at Iowa. They can take them at SEC. And then each summer, their first summer and then their second summer, then they'll take engineering classes with and through Iowa.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to provide that classroom opportunity, the cohort opportunity with some of our faculty right there.
Yeah.
So if we have 4, if we have 5, if we have 10, I don't know how many are going to show up, then they'll have support from faculty about engineering, about questions or concerns that they might have. But that started 10 plus years ago. And so getting that one capped is a big deal. Now, on the converse, Mount Mercy happened within a month.
Really?
Month and a half at the most.
Okay.
And we had been talking with them about the education piece.
Yeah.
But it didn't come together until probably within that month and a half before we signed. And they are really tickled about it. They're offering the program right on campus, which gives our students a chance to stay in the region, get their 4-year degree, do teaching, student teaching here within the area, and hopefully we'll stay in the area because there are plenty of jobs, plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
And nothing against you and I, but I reached out to them many, many, many times, and they were similar as Iowa. They were constantly changing chairs and people and whatnot, and then they came up with another plan that just brought community college students to them, and those students then they were paying only the community college rate, and then they had a grant that helped fill in the blank. But I really wanted them on our campus.
Yeah.
And that would provide a solid education program. But that didn't work out. And maybe someday it will, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So it's work. It's effort. We have really great relations now with our business and industry people. Shears, Iowa Fertilizer. Sugan now wants to sit down and talk about how we can work more closely together. So I mean, we're talking the big guys, as well as some of the littler guys. So it's we don't have all the answers, and not everybody needs us or wants to do business with us, but that's okay.
Yeah,
we just are trying to find our place to be supportive and help the Greater Burlington area provide educational opportunities for our students, which then hopefully will translate into good jobs for them, but also employees for the the workers, for the industry and business.
And that kind of segues into the question that I was going to ask you. So all this effort and these agreements and everything, this is to address needs in the area. It seems to me it's addressing workforce needs,
Yes.
workforce challenges, and ultimately, I would imagine the desire to keep these students here in the area and to find good paying jobs here.
Absolutely. And we hear every day from business and industry, we need employees. In fact, when shortly after I got here, I was visiting with a number of different business leaders, and they were like, the college isn't meeting our needs. And I finally said, okay, I get it. Let's talk about what your needs are so we can start addressing those needs. And I think that's helped change the attitude, the expectation of the college.
Yeah.
And again, we have plenty of shortcomings. We don't have enough bodies to train. And so we're trying to figure out how can we get more of those high schoolers in? How can we go back and perhaps look at those older adults that maybe took a class and then maybe they had to drop out for financial reasons or whatever, and help them get back in or maybe get in for the first time.
Yeah.
But the jobs are jobs galore, and the pay is just incredible. I'm wishing at a time that I had taken some of those types of courses that maybe I could get a little bit better paycheck. But it is really interesting to be a part of that and to work with KPI or Shears and some of these others. They're just wonderful people, and they just need help with employees and trying to get employees in the door. But you're absolutely right. A lot of our focus is on workforce development.
Yeah. How do you see SEC their stance as compared to other community colleges in Iowa? I mean, obviously you're connected, and I'm sure that you have meetings and you go and visit with your contemporaries. How would you say SEC has positioned itself versus some of your counterparts in the state?
Well, I think we do work well together as far as a group, and we all try to shine, but we don't necessarily try to outshine the other guy. But to be in a position at this juncture that we're outshining them a little bit, we lead the state in retention. We are in our 8th semester of enrollment growth. We are now pre-COVID level of enrollment, and there's only 1 or 2 other schools that are in that situation. And we continue to advance things like our hospital partnership. None of the other colleges have that. Not like that. Now, they might have partnerships with area hospitals, but not where the hospital is giving you $10 million to recruit new students. So we're very pleased about that. And with that, we're going to be able to start a rad tech program come this fall. And that's really pretty exciting stuff for our region. So I think we really stand up good. We're solid. I know when I first got here, some of the presidents who were here at the time, and some of them have retired or moved on, but they were like, "Oh, Ash, you got a tough one. Southeastern is a tough school." And now they're saying, "Wow, this is incredible what's going on there."
Yeah.
And it's a team. So I don't want to walk around with my chest bulging out like, "Look what I've done."
Yeah.
I always say, "Look what we've done."
Sure.
And it's my team. It's our team.
Yeah.
And it's for our region. So
Yeah.
it's for our students. And really it is about the students. That's my other motto that I use.
Yeah. The last question that I have before we run out of time is what's in store for SEC? What's in the future in the cards? Is there anything that you can share with us that might be coming down the road?
Well, we have started a new safe room multi-purpose building based upon funding from FEMA. Their funds are going to cover about half the cost. And in that, I'm hopeful, and this is all hopeful, that we'll start a men and women's wrestling program. We're about the only school that doesn't have one.
I mean, come on, wrestling in Iowa.
I was like, what are you doing here, So we're looking at that. I want to complete the annex, get that completed, and hopefully we're getting it done about the same time that the safe room will be done, and that's scheduled to be done by next fall. So we're tickled about that. One of the more critical and serious things that we're focused on is enrollment. When I came here, that was my number one area of focus is enrollment, and it has been my number one goal every year, and it's paying off. We're seeing 8 semesters of growth, and we've put some things into place. Now, what we're also looking at down the road is this issue called enrollment cliff, and the expectation is that we're going to see a major decline, significant decline in high school enrollment for a number of years because, permit me to say it this way, we weren't making babies back in 2008.
Sure.
In 2008 to 2026, that's 18 years.
Yeah.
And so those kids are not there.
Yeah.
And they're not available for us to have in our classrooms. So that is it's that group, as well as about 40% of our kids who actually graduate, we're not talking dropouts, we're talking about graduates, don't do anything post-secondary.
Okay.
So now they might be military, they might be going to work on the farm, or they might just be hanging out, putting a few hours in at McDonald's or Uber or something like that.
Yeah.
DoorDash. And they don't seem to be real motivated to get into the workforce. So that's an area of concern. So the 40%, we're going to be focused on them, and this enrollment decline are two major things that we're going to be really focused over the next year or two to what's our messaging? What are we not saying? What are we saying that might be setting up barriers? So we're really examining. I have a special recruitment committee that's been established that's picking us all apart.
Great. Well, thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for your, SEC's contribution to the region. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your partnership with not only the community, but the Greater Burlington Partnership, and whatever we can do to come beside you. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to do that, and just wish you continued success in everything that's going on over at SEC.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen to our podcast, and give us a call at the Greater Burlington Partnership if you have any suggestions on future guests that you would like to hear. Until then, thanks a lot. We'll see you next time on All Things Greater Burlington.
You have been listening to All Things Greater Burlington with Steven Brody. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to catch all new episodes. To learn more about All Things Greater Burlington, visit greaterburlington.com/ATGB.